So we're now on the eve of one of the most important elections in American history. Because of America's impact on the world stage, and because they are without a doubt the country with the greatest impact on the Canadian economy and the Canadian culture, this is an election we have to take very seriously. Now, despite the polls in Canada showing that Canadians overwhelmingly favor the Democratic candidate for president, as the majority of Canadians always do, it would be instructive for Canadians to learn about why so many who voted for Barack Obama, the Democrat, are now switching to the Republican choice, Romney. And so it's time for some Canadian common sense. My best and latest example of Democrats in the United States choosing this year to vote Republican is the editorial in America's fifth largest newspaper by circulation. That would be the Daily News in heavily Democratic New York City. The Daily News, owned by Canadian-born Mort Zuckerman, who's been a longtime supporter of the Democratic Party and one who enthusiastically supported Obama 4 years ago. His newspaper is supporting the Republican Mitt Romney for president this time, not because of the social conservative agenda of the Republican Party, which of course is the part of Republican politics that over the years has caused so many Canadians to oppose Republicans. The paper that routinely favors the Democrats is not favoring Romney because they've done some sort of conversion on the social hot-button issues like abortion, gay marriage. For the Daily News in New York City and for many others who tend to vote for the Democrats, it's not that the economy is the major reason. It is the only reason. The editorial makes the point very plainly when it writes, America's heart, soul, brains, and muscle, the middle and working class people who make this nation great, have been beset for too long by sapping economic decline. Our leaders owed us better than lower standards of living. And we must have better if the U.S. is to remain a beacon of prosperity where mothers and fathers can be confident of providing for their children and seeing them climb higher on the ladder. Now, folks, I could give you 1,000 different economic data points other than those in the Daily News editorial. We've talked a good deal here about the economy in the last few months. By now, you're aware that while growth in Canada has not been great in the last few years, it's been slow and steady since the global meltdown in 2008. But in the U.S., growth has been so slow that you have to actually go to statistics to be able to measure any growth at all. When you talk to real people in the U.S., they tell you the statistics only tell you a small part of the story. 4 years ago, Barack Obama promised hope and change in a post-partisan America. What he's presided over has been an America that is much less hopeful, much less optimistic than at any point in my lifetime. And I've been paying close attention to America for half a century. Yes, I have family there, and I have lived there and worked there, and I'm grateful for my many positive experiences. The America I got to know was the most optimistic place on the planet, where people could come to that country with almost nothing in their pockets and become middle class within one generation. That's not rhetoric from some messianic ideology I'm offering you. It's a fact, one I saw with my own eyes. But my eyes see a much different America today, where poverty isn't rare anymore. It's the norm in many parts of the country. Entire towns looking like ghost towns. Huge sections of cities looking abandoned. Abandoned by business, abandoned by civility, abandoned by hope. Much of America today looks the way the Soviet Union used to portray America during the days of the Cold War. That dark cartoon America the Soviets created in their propaganda machine back in the 50s and 60s is unfortunately and tragically how much of the USA looks today. And while this is not all the fault of one man, Barack Obama, the buck stops at the president's desk. He's the one in charge of making government work and helping to set the table for an economy that provides opportunity to its people. Of all the stats I've seen in the last few months, there is one that really jumps off the screen for me. Since the election of Barack Obama, half the young people who had been living on their own, young meaning those aged 18 to 29, half of them have now moved back in with their parents. Look, I can sit here and lay out the various platforms of the Democratic and Republican parties, Obama versus Romney, and healthcare, education, energy, foreign policy, et cetera, et cetera. There's one issue this year that matters most to voters. All the others, while important, are distractions. The election tomorrow comes down to one question: who is likely to give America a better chance at economic vitality? Who is likely to give the American people back their mojo? Who is likely to give that young person who's moved back in with mom and dad an economic environment that gives them the confidence to move back out, to find a decent job and to buy a home and have a family and believe again what Americans used to believe, that the next generation will do better than our own? America has always been about progress. It's where great ideas and products and services are created and then exported to the rest of the world. Tomorrow night, we find out whether Americans are prepared to make a change in the Oval Office. Ironically, there are those tonight who believe that because so many Americans are pessimistic about their country and feel that their country is in decline, that they will actually vote for the status quo. I have my fingers crossed that Americans will choose a man who's totally prepared and committed to get his country and his country's economy out of the ditch. I'm crossing my fingers that Americans choose Mitt Romney. That's Canadian common sense.